Here I am opening up the package. You can see there isn't a lot of support for the rotor. However, I did a quick check with an alignment tool and the rotor looked like it was in good shape. So I proceeded to remove the old rotor using a Torx bit T25. Here is the old rotor superimposed on the new one on the bottom. You can see what I had done in terms of selection for the rotor. I wanted to have more surface area where the disc pad contacts, and you can see that here and here, and it turned out to be the right move. I'll talk about that more in a minute. Here I am cleaning out the bolt holes and installing the new rotor. Here is the old bolt on the left and the new on the right. There are 6 of these that have to get installed. I ended up using the old ones because they're slightly longer and I just felt more comfortable with that. All right, installing them, and I'm using a star pattern to get all the bolts up to spec. It's going to depend on each manufacturer. Here I am checking the thickness. This is 2 millimeters, which is great. The old one had grooves in it that was 1.5 millimeters in spots, as you can see here. I used the rotor alignment tool to make some minor tweaks, and this is what it looks like on the bike. I think it looks pretty sharp with the second circle in the middle design. I did a couple of test rides and indeed it stops better. Here's the back one, which I hadn't changed yet. Well, I've just installed the rear rotor and trued it and dialed everything in, and indeed the brakes are working better than ever. So I highly recommend this to people looking for more stopping power. However, there are 2 things I want to bring up. One, the consistency between the rotors is not great in terms of manufacturing. I said earlier that I measured 2 millimeters for the thickness. This other one I measured 1.7, something like that, which is not great because you're supposed to replace them at 1.5. So that's one issue. I have that on my rear, so that's not that big of a deal. The other is weight. Even though I'm not a huge proponent of getting lightweight components, this rotor is 140 grams, whereas the original one was 104. So it's almost 40 grams difference, which isn't that much overall, but percentage wise, going from 100 to 140, that's quite a bit. Personally, I think it's totally worth it in terms of more stopping power. There probably are other rotors that are lighter that have the same pad track that I was looking for, but just keep that in mind. I still was never able to get these brakes to lock up the wheels. These are mechanical brakes. They're quite good and they're easy to service, but they're not as strong as a good set of hydraulic brakes. But again, they're much easier to service. I actually think they're quite good. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and I will continue to pump these out as long as I find stuff that I think will be interesting to other people, partly to document it for myself for in the future if I want to go back, but also for other people who like to DIY this stuff and get the most out of their bikes. Thank you.